I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
LifeAdviceRR@gmail.com. Kyle and Russillo. Let's do this. Longtime listener, love the Van Pelt days. 37.55, 118 can bench the bar. Personal record in a 50-mile ultra marathon is 8 hours, 12 minutes. So early on in this email, we're like, okay, 5'5", 118 can max 45 pounds. But then we realize this is a female emailer, and she can run 50-mile ultra marathons. So we're not going to say shit, except that's amazing. Okay, several years back, I learned my dad is an avid F1 fan. It came up when I mentioned a Bill Burr podcast that I'd listened to. Bill Burr was rambling about F1 and MotoGP. Long story short, as a combined birthday Father's Day gift, tickets were purchased for Austin. For a few years, the weekends in Austin were awesome. We met some really cool people and had some really great times. Cut to last year, post-Netflix show. Every other person at the race is a yuppie or an undergrad. Ooh. People just cry. Yeah, look, F1 is huge now. I took note of how many new college-age female fans there were, and so did my 61-year-old dad. Yikes. My parents divorced when I was 5. My dad has been mostly single since. There were a few girlfriends and a short-lived second marriage, nothing for at least the last 10 years, however. Noticing that my dad is scanning, surveying, borderline ogling these new fans, gulp, I was both horrified and mortified. I couldn't tell if I was noticing only because I was his daughter and could pick up on it, or because it was that obvious. He wasn't making physical movement towards anyone. It was more of a blank stare in a set direction. It was gross. I didn't know what to do. I decided my best course of action was to move myself in between his gaze and the target. Not always possible, but it was the best idea I could come up with. His scanning was really only happening when we were in line to get a drink, buy a hat, etc. But sometimes you're in line for more than a few minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and it isn't like the staring could be shrugged off in a get over it kind of way. So your dad's a real stalker. This guy's a real looker. It's not stalker, but not afraid to sneak a peek, if you know what I'm saying. My question is, what would you suggest I do in this situation? We're thinking about going to Canada for the race in June. Word on the street is these gals up in Canada are stunners. Can confirm. They don't like guys in the States a ton, though. I can also confirm that. Or maybe they don't love 20-year-old guys that are just chugging the worst beer ever, asking if they want to go to strip clubs. So also fair. I don't want to think about how things might even go. I haven't told anyone about this, not my sister or my longtime boyfriend. I find it embarrassing, disgusting. Should I ask my longtime boyfriend to help him? I don't know about that one. Side note, I'm no stunner, but do have features that can lead to long stares from creeps. Well, I'm not going to say where she's from. Am I taking out my personal disgust over this on my dad? Shout out Cerruti and Kyle. Yeah, she sent in a pic, and now I feel awkward. I'm not going to say anything awkward, but yes, she's attractive. So, all right. Now I feel like her dad. All right. So there's something I think you have to understand when you're a child and then you get a little bit older, is that I think it takes us a really long time, and some people are more mature about this, but I think for a lot of us, it takes us a really long time to realize that, like, our mom and dad, like, were super into each other at one point, right? That there was, none of us want to talk about our parents hooking up, but like there's this thing where it's almost, you feel like they're brother and sister, and there isn't the romantic thing. Or I don't know, maybe that was my upbringing. And that, like, think about the fights that you get in with your girlfriend or boyfriend, or the discomfort, or just the shit you go through. But I feel like you don't process it the right way with your own mom and dad until you actually either become a mom or a dad or a parent, or you just get older, right? In my case, you just get older, and you start looking at the history of your parents entirely different. And, maybe that happens right away for you when you get to college. I remember we were in this massive class at UVM. And I mean, this is going to sound stupid, but it was basically a college education, or a college level sex education class, but it wasn't the hardest class. You actually had to do your work. And then there was like a TA program with it. Everybody did. I'll maybe tell the story another day, but the professor just gets up there, and he was like a very open sexual guy, like talking about all this stuff. And he started like talking about our parents. And I think he was just sort of trying to freak us out, but he was also funny. It was effective. He was a very good public speaker. And he and his wife were tremendously helpful to me, as a student up there. Anyway, so the reason I bring all of this stuff up is that I think we always have a hard hang up about anything that would actually be a little bit more normal. Now, if your dad's just straight up staring and it's awkward and it's creeping people out, like that's not always the move. But I also will tell you that as guys get older, they're way more comfortable just staring down a really attractive female. I'm
And
not saying it's
saying
right.
stuff.
Right. Like it's fucking weird. Like, and I have kind of this theory of like men at the gym where there's like a young guy that is forward and talks up the gorgeous girl at the gym. Then there's the guy that resents that the other guy is. And then there's like the old guy that knows he has no chance. And that's almost the worst because he doesn't give a fuck. And she's on the yoga mat and he's like, oh my God, like, look at you. You're flexible as hell. And he knows it. He doesn't even think he's really doing anything wrong. And in that case, like, it kind of sucks. Like, hey, I'm at the gym and I'm stretching and you're checking me out in these pants. Like, fuck off, man. But I don't know how the science works, but there's some sort of line of a certain age that once you get past it, you just go like, I don't care anymore. And again, I'm not saying it's right, but I think it's true. And it's clearly, especially if your father, as you say, has been single for 10 years, he is through this timeline now where he's just going to stare. And if you can look at it that way, instead of it just being bummed out and kind of embarrassed or grossed out by your dad, because that's what we've all done our whole lives. We've had stuff with our parents where we were totally unfair to them. The standard that we held them to certainly was never a standard that we have for ourselves, for our own level of embarrassment, for the shit that we've done wrong. But somehow we hold our parents to this fucking ridiculous standard. And hopefully you kind of get it out of your system. So I'm not absolving of all this. I just think you need to kind of process it a little bit more like a person that would know him. Like if he were your friend and you're like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Instead of being totally repulsed, but you're repulsed because it is your dad. And that part, you're not wrong for feeling that way. Like I get everything that you feel, but I think all of us, when we're upset with our parents, no matter what your age you're at, there's a real value in the exercise of like reminding yourself, like, yeah, I know this is my dad or my mom, but it's also a fucking person that is going to do some stuff that maybe I don't always love. Look, I'll get into it with my dad about certain things. He lives on Martha's Vineyard year round. He's not used to a ton of people, although in the summer it drives him crazy now. He would come visit me when I lived in Boston or even West Hartford, and he would get like a little bit more impatient because he wasn't used to being at grocery stores with a million people and this kind of stuff. And I just be like, hey man, you got to like, don't worry about it. Like, yeah, there's not as much parking here as there is in West Tisbury. The lines are a little bit longer. But you know what? We also have highways and bridges and shit. So like we can do a lot of different stuff. So I always think it's important to try to, again, in review, try to remember to not maybe hold your parent to a parent standard, because I think a lot of times as kids, we can be really tough on our parents.
Yeah. I mean, I almost would maybe go the other way with this. I mean, I'm not a girl, so I don't really have the same yuckies feeling that you have. But I think like he sounds like he keeps his hands to himself. Sounds like he even keeps his own dirty little thoughts in his head, right? And he just kind of has that like look on his face. I wonder, is he cool? Like, what if he goes sat down at the bar in those? Because, every once in a while, a clip surfaces of like spring break, and there's like a 70-year-old man in a crowd full of teenagers, and he's having the time of his life, and they're having the time of his life. And the dudes think he's awesome, and the girls think he's this cute old man. I mean, maybe everybody wins in that situation. It sounds like you're going to events where there's fun times. What if you just, instead of like, being disgusted as you're waiting online for your beer or your t-shirt, like what if you just went down and sat in at the table near a gathering of fun teens? I wonder if he's a fun time. It sounds like he's not abhorrent in the stuff that he does or says. It sounds like you just see on his face that he's like, oh wow. So I mean, I wonder if like he's divorced, right? He's single, so maybe he'd have the best time of his life if he just went and sat at the big old table at the next event that you're at, and like you guys all cheers or something. I don't know. Feels like everyone could win in that situation.
So you're saying lean in 70-year-old Daytona Beach style.
That's what I'm saying. Also, isn't it more weird if you say nothing? What if you're like, hey, we're sitting down here? Like, what if that's, I don't know. I think I might be saying some crazy shit right now, but it's just the first thing that popped in my head was like, instead of the weird, like fringe looking at whatever they're doing, what if we're just all doing the same thing? What if we just ordered a pitcher of blue alcoholic drink too? I don't know. I know that they're not at spring break, but that's just what my mind keeps going back to. But it sounds like there's a bunch of a lot of young crowd at these things. Maybe there's a little beer garden or something where you guys could just sit down and maybe your dad would get to talk to some hot chicks, and maybe that'll just quench his thirst to stare at them. Now he can actually be a person in a conversation with one. I don't know.
Yeah, and we might just be two guys, but like I feel bad for the daughter here. She's exhausting herself getting in the passing lanes and just trying to block the view the entire time. I mean, there's always you could ask about it. I would not have your boyfriend,
Definitely not.
unless they're super close. But you also might be embarrassing the shit out of your 61-year-old dad too. So, okay, here we go.
So no advice.
None, literally none.
Maybe let out a ew dad. See what happens.
We had somebody
Ew,
just
Dad.
asking straight up to have more authors on the show. We've already taped 3 author interviews that we just haven't had time to use, and there could be a separate feed for it altogether. So we don't have any news on it yet, breaking news, but we're gonna figure it out. Okay, let's stay on the Montreal line here today. Okay, guys, love the pod. 6'5", former basketball player. I guess, wow, 25 years ago. So he played in college in Canada, weighs 235. Likely can bench the same. That's great. Have trouble keeping off the pounds. I'm thinking about restarting my dunk journey at 45 years old, like I did for my 40th birthday. I would say don't try that unless you've been loading some sort of weight on the legs, Achilles, etc. All right. Just make sure you're doing something ahead of time before you start blasting into the calf raises and running around playing basketball, unless you've been playing basketball already steadily. But, that's the one that always scares the shit out of me. But at least I'm still doing some stuff and hoping not to blow one of the two out or both out in a pickup game, like so many of my friends have. All right. I might run a marathon. Cool, man. Okay.
What else you got, dude?
Yeah, right. All right. Yep. No, got it. All right. So, yeah, I know where he is. I know where he's from. I've spent a lot of time up around the area, boats, etc. All right. So, question is this: my nephew's about to turn 18. As I'm sure Ryan knows, Montreal, Quebec is a place where many young men, especially Northeast Americans, cut their teeth on this form of entertainment. I'm not a strip club guy. I haven't been in 10 years. And when I did, it was a bachelor party. A lot of times guys aren't even strip club guys. They just love that there's still a version of, like, a lot of times the booze laws are a tad more flexible. And there's just guys that be like, hey, we want to keep this night going. And that's why, and then there's just guys that literally love strip clubs more than anybody. And you're just like, why do you want to go to these?
What a strange species of guy that is. But yeah, they're out there.
You got any buddies? You got some buddies, right?
Yeah, and mostly more ones that I've met out here. I've got one really close one that I think I've actually helped push him out of that phase. But it was like, I'd want to go to a couple bars in town, and he's like, no, what about these ones? So like, oh, that's far. And it's like the third option. It's like, he said no to mine, I said no to his. Third is strip club. And it's just like, it's just tip of his tongue all the time. But it's like, tried to get me to go there New Year's. It's like, I'm not thinking about New Year's strip. Doesn't sound good to me. But yeah, he's one of those guys.
New Year's Eve day is when the magic really happens. You go the next day. All right. And I'm not like, but I just would never understand, like, you get together with a group of guys and then it might be a married thing. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. But there's always like a couple in everybody's group that would be like, strip club. And you're like, fuck, it's 10 o'clock. No. Like, let's go out. All right. Anyway. So my brother-in-law is a strip club guy. And he's been extremely helpful in my business, and I feel I owe him. My brother-in-law is super keen on going to Montreal this summer, but my wife and sister-in-law think it's a horrible idea, and I'm caught in the middle. What would you recommend? All right. So just so we understand, this is the son of his brother-in-law, who is very pro the idea of, as the guys from Mass call them, pelas. So the brother-in-law wants to bring his son, and our emailer wants to go, but the wife and the sister-in-law think it's a horrible idea. Well, you stay the fuck out of this one is what you do. If the brother-in-law takes his son, then you get to go. All right, you get to go. And if you really wanted to have to talk through this, I would just ignore it and like a loose oar in a stream, just let the current take you in whatever direction it's going to take you. So if the brother-in-law is taking his kid and they're like, you're coming, with us because it's all local and you're living around there, then I think you'll be okay with that. I can also understand the wife and the sister-in-law, meaning another wife, not loving this whole ordeal. So if they win, then you avoid the shrapnel on this one. So don't take a strong position, all right, at all. Just let it happen. It's not really your call. It's not your kid. They can get there without you, by the way. They don't need it. Apparently, the dad doesn't need instructions here and understand how the cover charge of walking up the stairs off of St. Catherine Street works. And all like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I think we're at the wrong one. Like, no. My brother Brad went to St. Lawrence and he told me, like, no, Brad's wrong. So the other part, if you wanted to win this, you could say, hey, he's going to do it anyway. He's going to do it anyway. And you can have him go with us. And we're going to make sure he's taken care of. Although sometimes the older guys are the worst people to be at these things. And that way, like, that would be the way I would sell this. But I also wouldn't be, I'm just telling you, you can think what you want. There's no way I would want to use any kind of argument bullet on demanding that my wife allow me to take my 18-year-old son to a strip club in Montreal. All right. I'd find other things.
No.
There will be better arguments where I feel like so if they're against you, they may lose, but it's not really your problem. So I would just hang in the balance on this one, see which way the wind blows. And if it doesn't go for the brother-in-law argument, you're in the clear. If they give in, then you're clear to go. Wasn't really your idea in the first place. You were just an accessory to their story, and that causes you the least amount of collateral damage.
Easy, real easy. Matter of fact, find some other stuff you're really excited about in the city of Montreal. Maybe some poutine. Maybe you want to go check out some poutine.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, find out some. Oh, did you think I was getting crazy on Life Advice on Thursday morning? No. No, I mean,
You're just getting that now.
Yeah. Sorry. But I was thinking maybe just find some other stuff that you're really excited about, just to sort of let everybody know that you're more there for Montreal than you are for strip clubs. That might just help you once you figure out which way the wind's blowing, obviously.
I think that's well said. That's well said. All right. We're going to have Andrew Bogut next week. As we were taping this, we were sort of waiting on it, but we're dealing with the Australian time difference and all that stuff. So it didn't quite work out. We know we advertised that on Tuesday's pod, but we'll have Andrew Bogut likely next week. We'll keep it grinding, enjoy the tournament, and Bill and I on Sundays. Thanks to Kyle and Steve, as always. Download and subscribe, rate and review the Ryen Russillo podcast from your Spotify. Thanks as always.